Let's talk some Georgia Bulldogs recruiting with big news this weekend that number one quarterback Jared Curtis is down to a final two, and the Dogs make the cut for the 6'4 QB out of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, in this video, I got UGA insider Rusty Mansell, and we're going to find out who is the favorite to land five-star Jared Curtis. But before we get going, Georgia fans, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, and we need Dog fans to be a part of it. All right, let's bring on Rusty Mansell, Dogs HQ, and we're talking Jared Curtis. Dogs make the cut for the number one quarterback. Rusty, why Georgia? Why are they a finalist?
Georgia's been in this thing, I would say, for lack of a better term, Georgia's been pot committed for almost a year now. You know what I mean? When everybody was talking about Juju Lewis and Georgia was kind of recruiting him, I felt like behind the scenes that Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart and those guys kind of went all in on Jared Curtis, even when those two were in the same class. And it meant a lot to his family. And ultimately, he committed it, early on to Georgia, I think, because of that. So, I think Georgia's been in this thing for a long, long time. There's a great relationship with the family. And I've told people on Dogs HQ, I know there was visits scheduled to Auburn. I know there was visits scheduled to South Carolina. There was some talk to Ohio State. Behind the scenes for a while, this has been a two-team race. It just became public this week, Oregon and Georgia.
All right. So who are you giving the edge to right now?
This one goes back and forth. Steve Wilfong and I talk every week. And this is the one thing that I've kind of been consistent with. There's a lot of pro-Georgia behind the scenes in his corner. Now, it doesn't mean this is going to be the final decision because this is a big boy recruitment. I think the proximity of Athens to Nashville does not hurt Georgia at all, but do not think for 1 minute that Oregon is not selling who they are, their program, their quarterbacks, what they've done, those types of things. This was not going to be a discount. So, people are like, hey, you're going to get outbid. This is not a discount recruitment here. This is a big boy recruitment. Both teams, both schools. He has an agent. He has a whole team around him, like most of these high profile kids now. Yeah. So when you look at this thing, I do think these last visits are going to be important. I'm interested to see if he takes more unofficials before these officials. I'm interested to see if he gets to each campus one more time to spend some quality time, watch spring practice, that type of thing. That might tip his cap a little bit.
Yeah, he's got those June official visits to Oregon and Georgia. I got to imagine, knowing how many visits he took last year, that he's going to hit the road in March and, April and go see some schools. So we got to imagine that there will be some times on campus. Now, it'll be interesting to see, does he make it to Georgia more than he makes it to Oregon because of proximity and all that? That's yet to be seen. But any idea on when he could actually make a final decision?
Just being in this business for a long time, and I know he's got these visits set for June, man, I can't imagine the amount of phone calls. Not only does he get from reporters, not only people reaching out to him, trying to get access to him, these two coaching staffs, it's every day. There's everyday communications. And my experience, guys that faced that recently, I don't think he makes it to June. That's why I think I'm very interested to see if he goes anywhere in March and April when these things open up. Because I'm telling you, you wait until June, and he's going to deal with a lot of phone calls, and a lot of people trying to get access to him for news. So we'll see. But I know this. He's been on both campuses multiple times. I don't know what else he can hear from staffs. He's got an agent that handles the financial part of this deal. He's going to know all the answers, I think, personally, to what he wants to know before June. We'll see. My gut feeling is right now this one don't make it to June.
Who are the other quarterbacks on the board right now for Georgia?
I think Landon Duckworth's a kid that Georgia Mike Bobo went and saw him twice. It's a very athletic kid, man. I'm watching some of his basketball highlights. It's crazy. I think Dia Bell's a kid, out of American Heritage. I know he's committed to Texas. Mike Bobo went down there pretty quickly in South Florida. Kirby Smart went by the school. A damn good dog, as people call him, Sony Michel. He's back down there, doing some stuff with American Heritage. I know he was there for the Milton game last year. That's not going to hurt him. Tyson Campbell, those kids out of that high school. So Georgia has some connections. You look at James Coley, T-Rob, those guys are really strong in South Florida. So, Georgia is they're not just completely all in on Jared Curtis, but they are recruiting other people. But you want to mention some other names, I think those guys I would be confident in saying are pretty high on their board as well. I love Duckworth. Now, I'm telling you, he's an athletic guy and he spins it around and all that. But, man, the way the college football game is today, athletic guys that can make plays off platform, hurt you the legs. I like him as well.
Yeah, Ole Miss heavily involved there, FSU
Hey,
heavily
no
involved
doubt.
there, Georgia getting
South
going, so
Carolina.
we'll
Yep.
see. That is a hot
Yep.
recruitment.
Yep.
Speaking of hot recruitments, let's wrap it up with this. Javari Flowers gave us big news the week of National Signing Day in February. He said, I'm reclassifying. He was a top corner
Yep.
in 2026. He is
Yep.
now going to make a decision in the 2025 class. Javari Flowers, give me the latest. He's from Miami Northwestern.
Yep.
He's going to make a decision here at the end of March, I believe. Where do you think Georgia stands? Who's the biggest competition?
First of all, I love him already. He says he's committing at a local lounge. I mean, sign me up for that guy already. I like that. He's going to take an OV to Georgia in mid-March. You're going to get a chance in him. And the same reasons I said about South Florida, you look at James Coley and you look at T-Rob, the connections those guys have and the success they've had in South Florida, I think that puts Georgia in this thing. Georgia's looking for definitely, some corner help. This guy reclassifies. From what I see and what I've heard, tough-ass Miami Northwestern kid, man, you can't get enough of those guys that know how to play down there. And, it's high-level competition. And, Georgia will get a swing at this thing. Obviously, Miami's going to be a team you're going to have to watch locally. But, Georgia's going to take a swing here. And been a little bit of momentum with Georgia, I think, behind the scenes. Not ready to say he's going to Georgia, but I do think they're a serious threat here.
All right. Well, we got a lot on our plate. Georgia fans, talk to us. How are we feeling about number one quarterback Jared Curtis? Do you think he's a dog in the end? And when do you think he ultimately makes that decision? Let us know.